and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up. It's me, Ross, again, and I'm joined by the amazing Kirby, and we're going to talk West Coast Avengers. How you doing, Kirby?
I'm doing really good, Ross. Thank you for bringing me on for this.
Well, I felt like we should talk about it since I feel like that it's my fault you started doing a deep dive into West Coast Avengers, which isn't, it's not obscure, but it's not as I think it's a great forgotten era of Avengers comics. The whole run. More prefer, and we're not even going to talk about the part of the run that I like the most because we're doing the first few appearances of the team. So, what's your first Avengers story for the folks so they know?
We talked about it. It was Under Siege. I think is what I kind of consider my first real one because might have read them in a guest appearance here or there, but I'm calling Under Siege my first real Avengers story.
Yeah. And before we started recording, folks, we were talking about different ones and about how you've read some, but you haven't read certain sections. So when you're reading Busick, and for Avengers Forever, so you may not understand what certain things have happened. So you've done you haven't done the bulk of Roy's run. So you haven't done the 60s stuff, which I think you may like. It's kind of kitsch. You'll like it. But so you're starting to, we talked about Quicksilver, about how he was obnoxious and then just became an asshole. And you were quite surprised by it. He stays that way for 20 years. It's insane.
I was reading a Fantastic Four story from like the late 80s, and I'm going like, Jesus Christ, I have to put up with this guy again for one issue? No.
I know, but I think you're supposed to hate him. I mean, everybody writes him just so incredibly unpleasant for such a long time. And then he's had a reprieve a couple times. And I like him when he's aloof, and I've read every Avenger comic pretty much. I like him when he is the asshole in the room, and the only person who likes him is Wanda, because and that's it. Literally, that even before he became an asshole, he was the only person who liked him. Really, was Wanda.
Like there was a time, there was the issue where they got the government. It's like you have to have 7 Avengers. My comment was, Quicksilver, we didn't even write your name down for a maybe. We're not even wasting our rank.
It's like, can we deport him as soon as possible? Because he's just a pain in our ass. And he's a big villain in X. Isn't he in X Factor or something later?
I got no. I can't
Oh yeah,
comment.
he is. I mean, I haven't read a bunch of X-Men and there's huge decades worth of holes in my X. But yeah, I think he's in X Factor. I think he's the leader. I don't know. Well, no, it's actually, I think he might be in the Peter David era. Which would make me Man,
you're giving me conflicting emotions on air.
Well, I really liked him in Heroes for Hire and his solo series when that book was coming out. I did like him in there. I thought he was well written in that. But we're going to talk West Coast Avengers. So what made you jump into West Coast Avengers? Just because I was blathering on about it, or?
Yeah, that's. I'm not gonna. Let's not split hairs. No, we were talking Under Siege, and it's like you're referencing West Coast. I'm like, okay, West Coast. I think it's ran by Roger Stern. I like Roger Stern. This seems like okay. I found the volume 1 at my local shop. I was able to pick it up, and like, okay, cool. I can go from here. I know it's only like 100 issues, give or take.
102
that's
issues,
not
something like that.
That's not bad at all.
And the annual crossovers, which I have to, and you reading it made me want to go back and read it. And if folks are following me on social media, I kind of read an FF because I'm doing the Jack reread, just Stan and Jack reread, and I started this. I'm about to run out of hardcovers, and I got a big gap, but it's all. I checked, it's all on the app, but kind of like I'm enjoying having the different books in a stack and grabbing them as I go through my multiple rereads. But it made me go back and read it, and we're just going to be covering, folks, the 4-issue miniseries, the Iron Man annual, and what the hell was the other thing?
Avengers 250.
250. And we're going to go through this real quick, but let's first talk about you. Have you read the Avengers story arc that leads into Vision? Because it's after Under Siege.
Or is it before? The storyline after Siege. Yeah, I've read the storyline after Under Siege, and in the epics they print let's see, excerpts from Avengers 239, 243, 244, and 246. So
Yeah,
that
so I mean,
just
that's
kind of was like a
basically,
little prelude.
Yeah, this is the hard. I'm using hardcover volume 1, and it's the trade version #1, and it's half of that epic, and it's all the same thing. So there's some good stuff. It's Roger Stern, but this is pre Under Siege, because Roger Stern just starts with that last arc before this. He's just taken over the book from I forget who. So this was his stuff. He's the one that brought in Captain Marvel. That's at the beginning of his run, I think. But let's talk. We get So what did you? Because there's a little. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's only like 8 or 9. It's like 10 pages from those 3 comics, and it's just the Hawkeye stuff.
So I think kind of going into this, the lineup we have, the ones I knew the most about were Hawkeye, Rhodey, and in between the first time I read this and the time I read it for the review is now Wonder Man. So like I knew Mockingbird and Tigra just kind of vaguely, but I think it's good. They give us a nice little breaks, just kind of like, okay, we've got way too many characters. I still don't want to get rid of any of them because I want to play with my toys.
Yeah.
What can we do to kind of keep them all on the table?
Yeah, and now this is the beginning year of miniseries, and I really liked it. So I'm not going to give this. Let's go to. I've got the fan wiki up, so I have all the minutia in front of me. But this came out. Does it have? Let's see. I didn't want to do this. I had it all set up, and now it's out of whack. It was released on May 22nd, 1984. And it's cover September 1st. And it's Stern, writer, Bob Hall, penciler, Brett Breeding, inker, Joe Rosen, letters, Juliana Federer, colorist, Mark Grunwald, editor, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. I love that Grunwald was the editor. Mark Grunwald is just one of my favorite Marvel writers of this era. But it's a good lineup because you got Hawkeye. He had an uninterrupted membership from 16 to 117. And then he wasn't in it a lot. Then he became the in and out guy.
Yep.
Wonder Man first appeared in issue 8, but then he came back. Jerry Conway and Jim Shooter brought him back as a zombie. And then he just kind of hung around, and this is when he's becoming a movie star. Tiger, who was an Avenger during this and you haven't read this stuff, but they do a lineup change, and it's Thor, Cap, Wasp, Tigra, Yellowjacket. It's Cap, Thor, Iron Man, Wasp, Yellowjacket, and Tigra is the lineup. And Gene Colan is drawing it. And it's all where she's in it when Hank becomes a wife beater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's in that era, and she's not in it long. And then Rhodey, and I'd forgotten when I read this that Rhodey didn't tell them for a while. He wasn't telling.
No, that is one of the best plots throughout, like the what we're reading, and it's such a shame that he didn't last into the ongoing.
Yeah, he comes back in the ongoing. Roy brings him back as War Machine. I mean, he's in it as War Machine. Roy brings him back. Nice. And I really like the Roy run, but I know some people think it's kind of too Roy-y, but I think it's got right level of Roy for me. And I like how he writes Captain. He wrote Hawkeye fighting against Cap, and he kind of did U.S. Agent fighting against Hawkeye. That kind of spar, like I should be in charge. It was neat to see the switch. But Englert, my favorite West Coast Avenger writer is Englert. Imagine that, it's Englert. He does the first 30-ish, 32 or 33 issues of the ongoing. So, but I like this lineup. I think it's neat. I like that they don't have a sixth member yet, because that becomes a big part of the first year and a half of the ongoing, is trying to find that elusive sixth member.
Right, because like Ben Grimm joined for like an issue or two, I think, and
Yeah,
then he's
Green
out.
Suit. Yeah, then they had to write him out because No, I think it was who was writing
No, Byrne
that?
left, and then like they wanted to bring him back into FF. So
Was that
it was
Englehart?
I think it was Englehart. Yeah.
It was because Englehart did a lot of that stuff. So the first issue, and hold on, the plot synopsis is short enough in the fandom wiki. I'm gonna read it real quick. It says Hawkeye and Mockingbird are in California inspecting the Avengers West Coast compound, where they also await the arrival of possible members sent to them by the Vision. Iron Man, Jim Rhodes, and Tiger arrive. While they are there, an intruder is detected. This turns out to be the Shroud, who is keeping an eye on Tiger at Jessica Drew's request. They offer him a spot on the team, but he turns them down. I thought Shroud would have been a cool member. What did you think of the Shroud? And I've read these comics with the Shroud in them, so I knew who he was because he was in a Marvel supervillain team up.
Oh, okay. See, let's see. I think he showed up super briefly in Under Siege, and then other than these issues, this is the only time I think I've ever read him. But I like his look.
Yeah, it's a great costume, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love the inking is clearly someone rolling like their thumb to kind of give it that weird mystic sort of look to it.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Brett Breeding. Brett Breeding inked a bit of DC. He would ink some. I think he did some DC. He also would ink Bob Layton when Layton would pencil sometimes.
Okay.
I think he inked Layton when. Have you ever read Bob Layton's when he wrote and drew Hercules, and it was a comedy?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so funny. It's very good. It's very good. But Brett Breeding is a good inker. And I like Bob Hall. I always like Bob Hall. And I think Brett Breeding makes Bob Hall art pop a little more. He did Squadron Supreme.
I've only read the first issue of Squadron Supreme. It's one of my big gaps.
Oh, it's so well. You don't really need to know the other stuff. It is such a self-contained 12 issues. I think it's my favorite thing by Grunwald, and I love his Captain America. His stuff's starting to come out in Omni. I'm hoping I can afford them. So, but I like this. What did you think of the lineup overall?
I think it was really good because just all of the character dynamics are there. Like I said, Hawkeye is a character who normally fills that spot of the angry loudmouth, but that I normally don't like. But he and Wildfire and the Legion are the exceptions to my rule there.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. He reminds me a little bit of Drake. Yeah, he does.
Mockingbird, I think, is a very good balance to Hawkeye throughout this, where she can compliment and kind of smack him on the nose when he gets out of line.
Yeah.
How long had Rhodey been Iron Man at this point? Because it still feels like he's a rookie-ish.
Yeah, it's early. He's only Iron Man for a year.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a short one. It's during the Luke McDonald. We'll talk about when we get to the Iron Man annual, which I got thoughts about. But no, in a good way. I forgot in some ways how good it was. I like the art. I like the way he draws Iron Man. I still think that's the best Iron Man costume. I mean, it's changing Spidey's. Go back to the classic. This is one of my favorite. This is my absolute favorite. I don't mind the silver because I've read forward. I don't mind when Tony comes back, and I don't mind the bullet-headed Silver Centurion is what they called him.
I actually kind of like that look too. It's the silver choice is interesting, but I do kind of like the build of it. It looks like actual armor.
Yeah, it does. It looks more like he's walking around in a weapon. And I like that it makes him bigger. But I like this lineup, and I like that we don't know. They don't know Rhodey is not Tony because at this point they don't know Tony Stark is Iron Man. Or I know Clint does. Clint does. Yeah, they know. He knows. By here they know.
I was wondering that because there was a point in my 70s reading where Cap still didn't know.
No, the only two people knew each other. Janet, Hank, and Janet. Everybody knew. Everybody knew who Cap was because he was an historical figure. But they knew. But the only two people who knew. Thor, Donald Blake, and Tony Stark knew each other's secret identity, and that was it. And they made sure they covered for each other. Wow. Because part of the thing was there is an issue, and I cannot remember where they make it a rule that they have to tell each other their secret identities. and make it a rule of being on the team.
If you can't trust Cap with your secret identity, though, man.
I think it's more you can't trust Tony with shit. But,
That's, well, fair.
But I like it. I mean, it's a fun 80s comic. What did you think of this? Would you have kept buying this off the rack when it came out?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just because, like, this is what kind of falls in my head, like, classic action comics. Lowercase a for that action.
Yeah,
but it's like, you got the lowercase, you've got great character dynamics. You've clearly got stuff, where you can build on, where even if, like, the villains may not always be the best, like, the characters, the art is keeping you through it, and it's like, okay, how are these characters gonna interact, and how are they gonna bounce off each other? And that is, like, what Stern does wonderfully here, and what Englehart continues on doing when he picks up on the ongoing.
I wanted to jump on part of what you were saying. I think, and having reading these again and reading, I got over the hump with FF, but I'm gonna save some of that for when you and me do our next 4 for 4, because I'm up into the 60s and it's a groove. That's my vacation, folks. I would read 2 issues in West Coast, and then I'd read 2 issues in the Stan and Jack FM, and I'm in that sweet spot where it's just rolling along. Why it's there and all this stuff, and it's that. But it has that. It's when Stan and Jack start doing art. The story isn't just one and done in an issue. There are threads going from issue to issue to issue. Johnny goes on a quest, a sideline, and that's that thing that Stan and I'm going is like, I always kind of thought Roy refined that, but it's so perfect in those, and I think that's why I like Stern as a writer, and why there's this part of the Bronze Age-ish and on thing is they do the personal interaction, the soap opera part of comics that I think is necessary. I need to know why people are doing it. I want the subtext of the character, not just I'm angsty hero, me punch. It's I'm angsty hero, but I'm angsty hero and I've fallen in love, so Clint's different in this series because he's in love. He's not the half-ass womanizer. Just, dude, the reason you don't have a girlfriend is because you're icky.
Yeah.
Okay. You're 60s macho. They should like me because he's not as bad as John Walker, U.S. agent, or Guy Gardner, who are 2 obnoxious characters I love.
Yep.
But Clint is just on that. He just is a fucking idiot. And that's why I think I kind of liked him. It's like, dude, you're really a nice guy. You're a good friend. You're a great superhero. You're a good Avenger. Stop being icky.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a point where when he's running around the minisuit, he kisses Scarlet Witch. And it's icky. It was icky when I read it as a kid, and it's more icky now. But she's like, ew, gross. But her reaction is like, I'm dating the robot, you know? Because it's when she's falling in love. Because that's Roy doing that subplot of they're falling in love, and no one else on the team sees it because they wouldn't think of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's Mockingbird, the way Stern brings her in, it softens him. And I think he's a better character for it. And I think Stern takes that, and I think Englehart takes that, and I think Roy takes that, and they run with it. And I think this is kind of a golden era for Hawkeye. I think this is for me as a fan, this is when I'm like, and I like all of him and when he would jump in and out of the Avengers in that other long run, but I think he's here, and when he was in the Busiek Perez era and then Thunderbolts are some of my favorite eras of Hawkeye.
Reading this is like these 4 issues alone really go like, wow, yeah, no, I think Hawkeye is probably my favorite Avenger, and I don't know if I would have said that maybe beforehand. He's a very
when I think of the big Avengers, if I have to go, okay, who are the 7 most important Avengers? It's Thor, Iron Man, Cap. Janet, Hank, That's 5. And then it's Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye. But that
makes 8.
That makes 8. So there isn't a big 7 because you got to have, if you're going to take one out, I would take Hank out.
Yeah.
I would take Hank out. But there's a reason for that. Is because you got to think the Vision was a regular member from 57 to sometime after 200. He was the person in the corner box for 20 years, for like 10 years. That's the icon. The standing one. But Hawkeye, and then I think Hawkeye, kind of like in the 80s and 90s, there were times where he would just disappear, long periods of time. And I always hated it. And after Busiek, after he left to go into Thunderbolts, he's not really an Avenger much. And then Bendis kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like Disassembled. I saw someone bashing Disassembled. I really like up until I like the beginning of it. Secret Invasion is just it's an era of comics that annoyed me, where you had all these crossovers and long story plots, and Claremont closes up a plot line faster than Bendis does. And it just, but and then he brought Hawkeye back as Ronin and all that stuff. But I just think this is a sweet spot for him, and I think he's well served by this story, and he's well served by being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for that change in the character. Would this be the 5 people I would have picked at this point to be the West Coast Avengers? No. I was going through the app going forward, and there's someone in the Englehart era who pops up in the Englehart era, a size-changing hero. Bill Foster, Giant Man, is in one of the arcs, and I thought they were going to make him a member. And that would have made me happy. But I knew him from the West. There were West Coast heroes I thought would be good. But I like this one. And I was never a fan of Tigra in her first era with Avengers. The colon stuff. But I like her here. I like her in West Coast a great deal. And having read forward, I really like what Englehart does with her. I mean, some of it's, because I'm going to have you back on to talk about it, some of it bothers me now, kind of socially.
Sure.
But I like her journey as a character a great deal. But I like I like this lineup, and I like what's your take on Wonder Man?
I think read. Okay, so just of what I read, I'm like right at that point. I'm like late 70s where he and Beast are just finally starting to become friends. So like it's right there in the next epic I'll read. I think it's where then Fletch will fully switch. But he's a good kind of like big dullard character, not to like Hercules extent, but he's there. He's got kind of I've read his origin story about a dozen times throughout the 1970s Avengers.
Yeah, they like to repeat. They like to remind you where he came from.
Oh,
he's an angsty character at times, and he had his own solo book, which I thought was it was a really good comic. I read it every month. Jim Johnson was the artist. Have you read Galactic Storm yet?
No, I haven't.
There's some of those issues are part of it, and the art's pretty good. But he's not one of my favorite Avengers. I find him. I liked his solo book. I loved it. I like him in West Coast, especially because I've just read where he's become the big movie star. And he's got the big pullback 80s mullet. Yeah. Kirby, y'all can't see Kirby's face, but I'm at the point where he gets the worst fucking superhero haircut. If I'm gonna pick between him and Death of Superman era Superman mullet.
Okay.
I think Superman's is a little nicer. It's got a little bit more body. There's a little more curl to it. But his looks like Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm flipping through my trade. It's not there yet.
Oh, no.
God.
It's issue 25 because I just got to there. I read it last night and went, I forgot about the mullet. And the members only jacket. They put over, which doesn't last long when he's in a solid black uniform with no sleeves and the big W on it, which is a costume I like, but they gave him a leather jacket to kind of complement it, and he just looks like Michael Jackson in Thriller. So see, Wonder Man's had some crap costumes, folks, but I like this lineup. But let's move on to we'll talk about because this is in the era where comics crossed over just randomly, and there was something Marvel continuity. You had to say this is when this took place. So their next adventure is in Iron Man Annual 7. It's by Bob Harris, Luke McDonald, the amazing inks of Aiken and Garvey, which I love, and I'll talk about that. Rick Parker, letterer, Bob Sharon, Mark Grunwald, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. And I forgot this is where Power Man, bad guy Power Man, becomes Goliath and then Busiek makes him Atlas.
Right. Yes.
So I really love this annual. I really have always loved this annual. One, it's Luke McDonald. So I know you like Luke McDonald because you've read all the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Yep.
And his shit is amazing in that, folks. Issue in issue.
Absolutely.
Page after page after page. What did you think of these inks? What did you think of his art in this?
Okay, overall I like it. There's one thing I kind of want to touch on is Bob Hall's Tigra has more of a feline sort of like posing and feel to it. Here, that's a little more stocky, but other than that, I think this is really good art. Again, the Iron Man armor looks like, armor, which is a problem I have sometimes, is where it's like the yellow will look like spandex more often than not. But
yeah, I do. I think that's McDonald because he does put texture in, but I think that's a bit of that is this. Aiken and Garvey did. God, were they the penciler and inking team on Cloak and Dagger? But they did inks in Cloak and Dagger. I've seen them ink stuff in ROM and Micronauts. I think they would ink Pat Broderick every once in a while. But they were around, and they were an inking team that I liked. I liked it when they came on a book.
This kind of makes me want to read this era of Iron Man more, just because I'm like, I like the idea of Rhodey as kind of like the not fill-in, that's not fair, but the rookie Iron Man. Like, I kind of want to read, and I love kind of the sleazy. Was the Iron Man's we got Goliath just walking through the porno district and whatnot throughout this.
Oh yeah. Oh, but so who were you asking? Hold on, thumb through it. Yeah, and this has all got the power brokers in here. That's who this guy ultimately is. The Carl Malice. Yeah, this is so different. Eric in this is so different from the character I absolutely love now. Because he's so just straight up supervillain.
Yeah, this is mustache twirling.
Oh my God! And when he comes back in different things, it's so weird. But I like how they start you know what? Some of the best part of this is Chapter 2, which is basically his frickin' story.
Yeah, no, it's like
they give him like 10 pages.
Yes, and I'm just flipping to it's there's no page number on here. Dang. It's where he's finally growing, and it's like, God, Luke McDonald, just nails him getting bigger and bigger. It's amazing.
And how long has he been? Is this the first time his costume has looked like Hank's? Because this is just Hank's costume.
But in brown and orange, which is an interesting color scheme. I don't hate it.
The only thing I think it's missing is the eye things, the little bug-eyed things.
Oh.
But no, I think it's fine. I think you can do a brown costume. I think you can do an earth tone costume. I don't think everything has to be the bright primary colors. Because I'm reading... I started reading the next, arc, or not arc, but several issues of... Alpha Flight, because I'm jumping between 5 omnis, reading 3 or 4 issues at a time, And I'm enjoying the hell out of it. See, I'm not getting bogged down in anything. But I did the next 3 Alpha Flight, which is 139, 140 X-Men, and then the next one I've got to read is Machine Man 18.
Ooh. Is that Steve Ditko Machine Man?
Yeah. So I've decided I like 70s, 80s Ditko sometimes more than I thought I did. But Wolverine has just come back. It's when his first brown is when he takes the color scheme from Fang, that costume he stole.
Oh, from Timberwolf, yep.
Yeah, the Timberwolf costume, but put that color palette on his Wolverine costume. Okay. And I really do like that Wolverine costume. It's probably his traditional one is spot on with the second mask. It's really hard to beat that costume. And the yellow and blue, I like the yellow and blue, but that's the brown one that I like. But it works on this, and I love Luke McDonnell's art. This fight between him and Rhodey is great.
Oh my god! Like, where it starts with him just tearing off. It's hooray for Hollywood now.
Oh yeah. Also liked when you liked his growing, but when he leaves the scene after he's beat up Rhodey and he's walking away where he's shrinking down, going that last panel.
Oh,
I love that. I could see that as John or Sal doing that. It's a really.
If you told me. Oh yeah, if you told me that was John Buscema, I wouldn't have blinked twice on it.
No, it's so good. But I liked it. This is like an old annual too. Felt like I was reading an old DC annual in the 60s where you would have different chapters. Or God, the early issues of FF where there was you'd have the chapters every one. But I really dig it, and I think he draws. I agree. I'm not a big fan of his Tigra. I think she's not in it much.
She's not, but it was just something that leapt out to me. Just going from Bob Hall to Luke McDonnell, where it's like, Bob always had her like crouching and kind of being.
And then when Al Milgrom does it, she's very feline-y. Yeah, she looks like she's just added into the panel in that one splash page. But I like that it's just these 3 heroes in the end, and it's a nice these annuals. I forgot how long they were. But the next fight scene's great. I think this is some of the best giant superhero stuff. Because sometimes having a giant in the comic is always kind of weird. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And that's all based on how the artist does it.
Yeah, Colossal Boy kind of has a hard time sometimes. And
yeah, he's too big. Sometimes they're too big. But no, he works with Giffen. I don't think he works as well. I think he works really well with Swan. I know Swan handles his bigness well. I think Luke McDonnell really nails it here. And it's kind of like Mark Bagley really nails it with Atlas. But I just think the best part of this is really, I really got to think it's the new Goliath. I think it's my favorite thing in this whole issue.
Absolutely. And again, like you said, they give him like a solid, like they basically give him a backdoor pilot almost. If there was to be a new Goliath series with him as the like villain protagonist or whatever.
Oh yeah, I agree. And it's like maybe that's where Busick was an editor. I think was Busick working for DC here? I don't know. He may be working, but he's one of the, because that's one thing I like about Avengers is you sometimes have ex-criminals and ex-spies who become, mainstream heroes in it. I like it when they bring a villain in. Hawkeye, well, not really villain, Swordsman. And I love Thunderbolts, and I was late to the Thunderbolts party. I was just like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then when I started reading around when Hawkeye came in, because Hawkeye was in it, and then I went back and read everything up to that. But Eric, I see now you call him by his name like I do Clint. I really like him. He's such a good character, and I think I really enjoyed this read, because I hadn't read this miniseries in years, that, this is where he starts to become this, which is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So I just gushed over it. He's my Clint in Thunderbolts.
Oh, I have that Thunderbolt tray. I've been sitting on it for months. I've just been bouncing around so many other things, and it's like, I'll get to it. I'm probably gonna get to
see,
it after.
the problem is when you start, you're really not gonna want to stop.
Yeah.
It is probably one of my. You know what? I prefer Busick's Thunderbolts over his Avengers.
Ooh.
No, that's a controversial statement, and I love his Avengers. His Avengers is one of the great runs of all time. When you have gotten closer to caught up, I've been thinking about a new kind of format of maybe judging eras of comics by either like Legion, like break down the eras and then have a couple people on and talk about why we like different eras. But I love Kurt Busiek's run on Avengers. He is someone who should have written the book. You know, it was like, yes, that's a no-brainer. He should write this book. And then I think his run is one of the top 5 runs of Avengers. But his Thunderbolts is better than his Avengers. But I
thought I was going to be throwing a little oil on the fire today.
No, it is. I was thinking about it since we've been chatting. You know, I've been posting stuff about this, and you've replied and stuff like this, and you've been just reading it, and that kind of triggered me is that how much I really, and I bought the latest Avenger Omni, which is just the Englehart stuff, and the Englehart stuff is so important to me, and that I would put both his runs in the top 5. He would get 2 slots. His West Coast and his initial run and a regular one are probably my top 5 would be. Would be those 2. It would be Roger Stern's era. It would be Kurt Busiek's era. If number 5, I guess, would end up being Roy from 16 through when he left. But I could take parts of that out. It's weird. It's just, but back to Busiek. As amazing as Busiek Avengers is, I think Thunderbolts is one of the great comics. It's just that initial run is just so frickin' tight. And back to what we're talking about and Atlas is a big part of that. Sorry, I've jabbered on about how much I love Thunderbolts. Let's get back to the miniseries.
This is such a weird collection for me, where it's like we're gonna do the first issue of the mini, we're gonna go to the Iron Man, we're gonna go back to the mini, then we're gonna go to Avengers, and then in the ongoing, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. It's like we're gonna do issue 1, then we're gonna cut into Vision and Scarlet Witch, then back to the ongoing, back to Vision and Scarlet Witch, and it's like, man, this is so interconnected.
God, that's the way Marvel was. People go, I hate continuity. I always loved this stuff. I loved it. You knew what was going on. You knew because you get the editor notes, what had happened. It's kind of newsflash. Also, check out Spidey, So this second issue is where they introduce this. I forgot about this character, the Blank, who's made out of the zip cutout stuff that they. That actually, that effect is actually it's something they paste on. It's a filter.
Okay, I was trying to think how he did, because when I was looking at him last time, I'm like, I don't feel like this is an effect or a way they would show this past like 1995.
No, this is when people were using a lot of these kind of like speckled, and they would cut it out and post. They'd layer it on. I still like it. It's a good effect. I mean, for this is very basic coloring.
Oh yeah, don't get me. Yes, I think it's good, and so I was just flipping through, and Wonder Man is moving, but he's in cut off jean shorts, and
I really. Also, I don't think comic artists really ever look at fashion, because George Perez was always about 25 years out of date.
Yeah.
Everybody dressed like it was the swinging 60s, well into the 80s.
For me, it's like I'll see sometimes girls will be wearing like halter tops that I saw like when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah. It's I guess, is this these New Yorkers, East Coast guys' version of LA?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, because it's like maybe they went to LA once, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, I saw a surf movie. I got the gist.
Oh God. But okay, so this is the second issue of a 4-issue miniseries, and it's basically one. I like it again. They give the villain time. We get to know who the villain is.
Mm-hmm.
It's folks. That's not weighted. It's dialogue heavy. Yes, it's a 80s comic.
See, I didn't feel it was actually dialogue. I don't know. Maybe
For modern comics, it is. I don't feel it's dialogue heavy. I think there's conversation. It's like a movie. I want the characters to talk to one another. I want I want context and subtext. There's some dumb stuff like he takes the entire side of the house off.
I was wondering. It's like
It's easier to move by ripping the structure of my home apart.
For a second there, I thought he was like, why does his garage have curtains too? But then now I realize. And
him pounding just nails into the side's going to hold that side of the house back on. Comic book physics. But this is fun. I like it. It's, you get the bad guy and, there's some, I think this is a tryout. This is Jim telling Mark Grunwald and Stern, Avengers is starting to sell again. We'll do a second one. We'll do one out west. Pilot it, and what I found with it is it's structured like it was a regular series already.
Exactly, because this does not read like a mini-series would now today. Because now it would be like a 4-issue, self-contained story. That's it. But no, this is like we already said, they're crossing over already. In the next issue, there'll be fallout from what's happening in a Thor comic, and it's already going.
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. They're building. Roger is doing what he would do if this was his Regular Avenger book, because he builds relationships as a writer, I think, with his characters. I think that's why his Avenger run is so good. That Hercules' relationship with Black Knight is different than his relationship with Captain Marvel, the real Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, folks. Okay?
No, I'm with you.
And that's what I really like about it. And I'm starting to like characters I don't really. I'm starting to like Simon a little more than I normally do. I definitely am liking Black Cat more than I normally do. I did before. And there's a good dynamic of this team. Hawkeye and his Sky Cycle.
Oh, I love. Did that start out as a toy and they brought it over and it started out as a comic?
No. Perez designed it. It was what I think Perez kind of introduced it in when Hawkeye worked for Cross Industries when he wasn't an Avenger.
Okay.
So I've got that. I bought that playset one, so it's on my shelf. And for some reason, because I can't have it lower on the shelf where the Avenger books are, because Hugs will eat it. So it's in front of my Justice League International trades and my Legion 5 Year Later Omnis. But yeah, it's a nice one. It's the Hasbro stuff. Those Hasbro ones. There's a 4-figure West Coast set came out. Hank in the Dr. Pym coveralls, Tigra, Spider-Woman. The one Spider-Woman I prefer, Jessica, the one from Secret War, and oh crap, I can't remember what the fourth one is. Silver Centurion. It might be the Iron Man and the Silver Centurion armor. I can't remember. But those are nice figures. But I got the Sky Cycle and it looks just like this. I really appreciate that because sometimes people change how their vehicles are. Like a Quinjet looked a certain way when John Buscema drew it, and then now there's the one that's kind of the one they make you draw, or that you did in the 70s and 80s. But I like that his Sky Cycle's that. But I like it's just a basic this is just them tracking down a bad guy who is not a very good bad guy.
No.
And then his powers cause something to happen, like, as they do. It's drawing an energy from someplace, and it blows up, and Graviton is back. So
okay, two bits. One, I forgot that the blank looks like Luke McDonald's Deadshot here in the last couple of pages, especially with the cigarette.
Oh my God, he does look like Floyd.
Yeah.
He does. Oh my God, he does look like Floyd. He looks like Floyd's nebbishy little brother.
Yep.
All right, that's cool. Maybe that's what Luke looks like. No, but he didn't create.
Oh.
He didn't create Deadshot. Deadshot
But
was
he
created.
basically did.
Well, I know.
Well, Marshall Rogers. Sorry.
Yeah, that's an Englehart and Steve Englehart.
That's Englehart. Oh yeah.
Have you? What do you think of Graviton? Because you haven't read. This is only his second. Is this his second appearance? His second time against the Avengers.
Yes, because I definitely have read, and I when I was reading this last night, 2 nights ago, I'm like, when did this guy appear? And I think there's an editor's note somewhere where it tells me, like, I'm like, oh, okay, I have read that issue. I don't remember his first appearance at all.
You haven't gotten to it yet. You haven't.
I haven't?
No, I don't think you did. Well, it's after. Maybe you have. Have you?
Well, 159, Avengers 159.
So
I might be a liar then.
Sal, the first part's drawn by Byrne, and then Sal finishes it, I think.
Okay, so maybe I have.
I'm bringing
right.
But well, what did you think? Well, just give me your take on him in this issue and issue 3, because he becomes a big Thunderbolts villain.
I actually really like this costume that he's in. I love the cover to issue 3 with all the Kirby crack on him just twirling the Avengers around.
It also screams Sal Buscema to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Graviton. I'm looking up those issues. But yeah, I do like it. I like the costume. I don't think you need the cape.
I think you do, honestly.
You do?
I don't know.
All right. No, that's cool. I get that. I mean, sometimes I love a cape, and sometimes I don't love a cape.
I think, especially with kind of like the way the power is moving, it helps show, like, he's kicking up a lot of force or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that cover is great. It's Hawkeye's arrows flying everywhere. I do love it. This is after what? Oh, this is after a big. So it starts with them let's talk continuity. There's something happened in Thor. This is from the Simonson era where there's snow everywhere.
Which, that's an era of Thor I might have read an issue or 2 of, and I know it's one of the greatest runs of all, so it's on my list.
It's something you got to read. It's my favorite Thor, and I read Thor because I was thinking Count Nefaria. Hold on a second. Bum 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 bum. Oh, there it is. I found it. It's 159. You're right. It's 159. Have you read 159?
That's what I kind of like my collect. I could one sec. That's what I think I might have because the cover. I looked it up and the cover looks familiar.
Yeah, he picks up a piece of Earth and it's floating above, and he holds the Avengers against this flat rock. Because in 59, no, he first appears in 58. In 59, he's holding them captive. And there's one, and the Wonder Man is still in his original costume.
So then I'm almost positive I have read it, because if Wonder Man's in his original costume, I've gotten to the point where he's in this red safari jacket, which I don't like as much as the Busiek Perez era one, but I do like more than his first 2. So
yeah, I got you. This is the last story before the Grim Reaper comes in and that ugly costume starts. The next story is where Perez is drawing it, and it's Beast, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Wonder Man trapped in the mansion with the Grim Reaper.
By the way,
and the next one is the Ultron story. That may not be in those trades yet. That may be in
it might not be. I might be a liar then.
No, it's in there. It's in there. It's in one you've read, I think. But it's kind of forgettable. I remember it because it's right in this sweet spot of really good Avengers. I don't even know who wrote it. Probably Conway. It's either Conway or Shooter. But the costume's okay. Sal drew him. And I don't know if Sal designed him, but Sal drew him. Because his costume and Count Nefarious are not much. They both have the same head because they're both white dudes with slick back black hair and a goatee. And it's like, really? But they just wear different costumes. Because this is the next story is where Nefaria, who's just been a gangster, gets superpowers, and he's an ionic. He gets the same kind of powers that Wonder Man and Goliath have.
Okay.
So he's part of that ionic kind of crew. But I like that. In this second one, you get his history, you get an introduction, and oh my God, they're going to retell Wonder Man's whole life story on a page.
I'll be honest, I completely zoned out during those couple of pages because I've read that enough times in the past couple of months to last me a lifetime.
Yeah. When I reread these during my vacation, I forgot that at this point she could still turn into a human.
I was wondering, because like I said, I have very little.
And she didn't have. I didn't notice she didn't have. This is when she still didn't have a tail.
Yeah, I thought she had a tail. Maybe she gets one later.
She gets it when at the end of the cat people of another dimension shit in Engelhardt, which I enjoyed the development it gave it for her, but it was kind of like these epic travels they would go on during the Engelhardt era. You know, they do that and then they're jumping through time, which is fucking amazing. But she's very different in here. But again, they're building on the character. They're not just giving you. It's not like a classic Doctor Who thing where the action of the story is sometimes more important than the character beats. So you have 4 episodes, you have 4 issues, and it's just you got to move the plot, move the plot. But you get little breaks.
This is character first, story second.
Yeah,
which is don't get me wrong, which is good. It's entertaining here. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I think.
Tighten up the defense. Trench coat and a hat, fedora.
Oh yeah,
I just noticed.
That's gonna keep you hidden. Hidden. I'm reading a lot of Jack and they're reading Jack and Stan, and Ben does it, and that somebody calls him on it. Like, you don't need to wear some cop goes, Mr. Grimm, we like you. You don't have to walk around like that. You're here.
That's about right where I am too on my reading on FF.
I'm in issue 59, 69.
Okay, then you're like an issue or 10 ahead of me then.
Yeah.
Because I just read Adam Warlock's first story.
God, that's so good. Oh, it's so good.
We gotta get there.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna record again quickly so we can talk. Move over, Jack Warner. Here comes Namor Mackenzie. So but what did you think of? Graviton. What did you think of Graviton as a bad guy battling them?
I think there's a lot of really good action here, but I found Graviton as a character just kind of be like, okay, you're here because we need to have a villain.
Bingo, that's kind of it. Yeah, he's just the villain who I don't think Stern and Hall and Grunwald really give a crap who the bad guy is.
No,
let's use an Avenger villain, a newer one, so maybe he'll be their big bad. Right. But also, let's show the interaction and the develop Greer and Simon's relationship. Let's bring the Shroud back in because the Shroud might end up being a member, or he'll just be a hanger-on.
Yeah, he gets more screen time than a non-member would nowadays.
Yeah, well, it's really something.
And I like it.
But that thing where someone just kind of hangs out at the mansion or hangs out with him more is something Roy and Engelhardt do. And I think Busiek does it a little bit too with his characters when he wants to introduce a new one. Just test them because, Hercules is in the Avengers comic from issue 30 and he doesn't become a member till 45, and then he's out on 50 and doesn't come back until Stern's writing it. Except once in a while. But I think that's what it is. I think really that Graviton, I think he's a good villain in this story, but he's not the part. The story's not about Graviton. It's not about the threat of Graviton. It's about the formation of this unit. And I think we're getting that. And I think it's great because the next issue, we had a great cover, and then this is just kind of a standard cover.
See, I think there's one thing missing that would have made this a great cover, and that's a speech bubble. I don't know from who, but this cover needed a speech bubble.
Or a caption thing.
Yeah.
I get you. I want a cover that tells me what's going on in the book. I do prefer those for the most part. I mean, I do like sometimes when they do something really cool. I like the Danger Street covers. That really don't have much to do with what's going on in the thing, but they're gorgeous. Both Mikkel's, Janen's stuff, and then the variants. But I don't think this one is. They're both just standard 80s action shots, but this one's not as good as the other one. But what I want to say is I really like the splash page.
Are we talking Tigra?
Tigra saving the shroud from drowning.
Yep.
And turning on her homing beacon. I think that's a great answer to that cliffhanger, because it's got a great movie. It's got a great Doctor Who cliffhanger. The hero is drowning, and then we cut to end credits. This one starts on a different. Doesn't start on that cliffhanger, but it starts in the water at the same time. I thought that was a nice little trick.
Oh, now that you say it, yes. Now that you're pointing that out, that is good. That is very good.
And you know, she's a cat and she's got to swim, poor thing. I know my cats wouldn't like that. But I mean, and then it gets into it, and then we get the reveal where Rhodey has to tell you got to stop talking, man. Okay, I'm not Tony. And man, I don't know. Like, I wish they had said, like, okay, Tony's Iron Man and Iron Man. We're keeping Rhodey Iron Man, or give him another name, War Machine. Which is what they do.
Yeah,
but I think that was more who was ever writing Iron Man had that say.
Sure.
And that was what it was. I like. Because I forgot when I was rereading this last week or the week before when I read it, was that Rhodey's the Iron Man in Secret Wars.
Yes. That I forgot. Like, I only read Secret Wars like maybe 4 or 5 years ago for the first time. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I got the...
It's not Tony.
Yeah, and I haven't reread it because I thought it was okay. I don't think it's... It wasn't the greatest 12-issue miniseries I'd ever read, but it wasn't.
Oh,
terrible.
good! I'm not alone.
But it wasn't terrible. It just was okay. No, the art was beautiful. The Zach art was great. I just thought it was, But there's so many really good ones. I mean, Crisis and it's okay. But and it's very Marvel, and it's just there were a lot of characters I wasn't, I didn't care about, and I did like the group of bad guys, and I like it. They gave us is it Jessica Carpenter who is the?
Because Jessica Drew's the first Spider-Woman. Is it Jessica Carpenter?
Julia Carpenter.
Okay, Julia.
She's the Spider-Woman in the black and white costume who becomes a member of West Coast. She's a long-term member of West Coast. She's like in half the run. Nice. And with Living Lightning, who I liked. I liked that they brought him back recently. But I liked it, Tony, when he tells him. It's great. And Hawkeye's just like, what?
I really like Hawkeye has this moment of like, oh, this is what Cap was feeling all those times I was yelling at him to a degree.
See, and that's another gross thing, that Hawkeye is a good team leader. And I always thought he would be. I always thought he should have been the leader, at times. I mean, I have a I have a standard for leaders, like the great comic book super team leaders. If I'm going to say the top two are Scott Summers and Steve Rogers.
Okay.
They are perfect leaders for the team.
Mm-hmm.
That, when Scott's around, and I think there have been other great leaders in X-Men books. I think Storm is a good one. I just read the first issue where she's leader in the Byrne Claremont era. It's right after the death of Jean Grey. It's an Alpha Flight story. And Angels rejoined. But I think I always thought Hawkeye'd be a great one. I think Monica Rambeau's a great one. I think I think Dream Girl is just one of those great ones in Legion. I really think she's a good one. I think she's better at it than my Element Lad.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, I like Element Lad as a character, and I like that he was deputy a lot, and I think he was a great leader. I think Paul wrote everybody who became leader, even poor
Polar Boy at the end.
Polar Boy at the end he's a little more an amateur at it and a little more, but he's got Element Lad going. Yeah, I mean I got your back, brother. You just do what you're doing. I got the background here. I'm a really good deputy leader. But I thought Hawkeye would make a great leader, and that's kind of what I like about one thing that made me read West Coast every issue. Even when at times Roy's wasn't as great as Steve's, but I think it's solid, and I think it's because of the relationships and the character choices made by Roger here. And I think Steve Englehart builds on it, and I think Roy builds on it. And I think that's my favorite part of this, is that we get to see Madame Mask, or it's not really Madame Mask, is it?
No. But it's a nice. We're just weaving in characters or villains, but the villains aren't the main point.
Yeah.
I remember the joke. Not even the joke. Someone had definitely watched I Was Big. It was the pictures that got small. With Wonder Man here.
Uh-huh.
Sunset Boulevard. God.
Sunset Boulevard, yes, where he's in the pool, yeah. I like he's been down there, but he's not dead because he can't die because he doesn't breathe anymore.
He's all energy based.
Yeah, I like it how he gets out by crushing since it's being pushed down, it's just to push down further and drain the pool. And then Go ahead.
The cover. Sorry, at least the cover is kind of reflected in the actual issue to a degree with him crawling.
Yeah, but
so I'll give the cover that.
This is another great fight scene. And when I was rereading it, I was a little thrown off that maybe that was Madame Mask, but then I was realized, no, that's Hawkeye in a costume. Because no one would dress that. Only Hawkeye would dress like that and think he looked like a gangster.
Yeah.
It's a really bad look. It is very 80s. And I read Michelini Layton Iron Man, and I read before it. I read Iron Man pretty religiously for a while, more longer than I thought when I was thinking back. And Madame Mask was a big part of it. She was, Tony's girlfriend, and she ends up becoming an Avenger, a probationary or an honorary one. It's toward the end, before Heroes Reborn. So,
Alrighty.
Yeah, during the Harris Epting era.
Okay, I'm gonna be. There's part of me that's kind of like soft ending my Avengers dive around with Stern, and then all of West Coast Avengers. But I might go and further past that. So,
there's the Gatherer Exodus stuff. There is good stuff in there, man. There's some bad, but when Simonson takes over, when the team's kind of broken up, it stumbles for about a year, but then that's when you get the art gets better. It's when the two teams are kind of in sync more. They both have to have 7 members and 2 reserves. Rage and Sandman are the reserves, and they never use Sandman, and it's just a crime because I think he'd have been a great villain turned hero Avenger. It's one of my and I've got those. Those are around on either side of the Galactic Storm, the Kree Skrull sequel, and after that is what's in the Gathering Omni, which is really fucking good. I forgot. It's Harrison Epting, and you have these versions of Avengers from different universes led by Exodus.
Okay.
And there's an evil villain who switches places with the real Vision, the White Vision, and that's how the good Vision gets back his yellow and gold thing because they've swapped bodies. And it's when Cersei's in it. It's really good. It's going. I hate to say it, that goes into the Steve Epting era, and it's really there's some bad, terrible comics in the middle of it, but there's some great stuff in it. The Gathering Reaper stuff is really good, and then right before you get to Onslaught, there are good stories and terrible stories. The problem with it is just it's inconsistent.
Mm.
and it's inconsistent. But there are some gems. And I like Galactic Storm a lot. It was a lot of fun. But back to this, I like this. It's like Greer's disguised as Madame Mask. She slaps him when he's down, and they just hammer him. You know?
Oh yeah, Iron Man has like linked up to the LA Power Grid or whatever to give a boost.
Yeah, and it kind of just zaps him and drains some of his energy, and they just beat him down until they can. He's got 3 state troopers putting his limp body in the back of a rental U-Haul.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude's graviton. You might want to put him in something and sedate the hell out of him. And then they're all sitting outside, and they have a big giant TV on the patio at the mansion.
Yeah, that has both cable and direct feed to Avengers Mansion.
Yeah, I like it. And the Vision's checking in on them, and they're great. And it's like, once an Avenger, always Avenger. I like this mini. I really like it. I think it read really well. I'm reading the hardcover, which is the first trade. And next is Avengers 250, which is it's supposed to be a double-sized, double-team 250th issue. I love that cover.
I do too, and I just did a giant painting of like trying to put like 13 characters on one, and so kudos to Al Milgrom for getting them all naturally on there.
Oh yeah. This is where I want to talk. Okay, this annual is by Roger Stern, Al Milgrom, Joe Sinnott, and Al was doing the regular book at times. I forgot Maelstrom was a deviant. I haven't reread this, but I want to talk about Milgrom and Sinnott art. I love it. I think they're a great duo.
I like Al Milgrom a lot here. I kind of bashed him when we were talking 5 years later. How much of that is him and Giffen? But here, I think it's very good. It's very solid art throughout. There's the action. Everyone's on model. I think it works very well here. And Sinnott, again, I've just learned to love Sinnott like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, when you mentioned you tweeted that when I got past the Kirby Coletta.
Yeah.
And it made me laugh. I went, is it? Oh crap, it is. And then when Sinnott came on, and it takes an issue or two, but they really find a groove together as a team. And I'm up to 69, and it's getting better and better and better. But reading the Englehart stuff in the ongoing, when Al Milgrom draws the ongoing for a while, and it's really good.
Nice.
I think it's solid. And I do like, I was glad, I forgot he drew this when I was doing my reread.
Yeah, I really do look forward to reading this from the main Avengers point of view whenever I get there in my collections. Yeah. So, which I think is a huge compliment. Let's see, because I must have read. Because we got Vision, Hercules, Wasp, Scarlet Witch, and Monica Rambeau, and Star Fox in it. So I think I have read like a crossover with Fantastic Four from around this time with them in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look something up real quick because I'm a little confused. Because it says it's Joe Sinnott, but he only does the first 10, and then he does 31 through 40, but it doesn't credit the other anchor. And I think it's Rick Leonardi or it's Aiken and Garvey.
Let's see. Oh, Aiken and Garvey. In my collection, I guess with whoever's in the middle there, it does list them in like the corner there as Ian Aiken and Brian Garvey. So at least in my Epic collection, it does list them there. So.
Oh, where up on the front page, or when they switch over?
When they switch over to the West Coast, it's in the like bottom left-hand corner of mine.
Oh wow!
I don't know if. So hopefully, it's not in there. It's not in yours.
No, it's not. But okay, so I was right. It's Aiken and Garvey. Oh, to make it look like they're. He only inked one of their comics, so. And it wasn't theirs. But yeah, I like this. I love how Monica turns into Captain Marvel and flies off.
Yeah, I cannot wait to read. I'm gonna eventually read like that her first appearance in either Spider-Man or Avengers, and I'm looking
Spider-Man
forward
Annual.
to it.
Yeah, oh, it's so good. So good.
Spider-Man's one of the other characters I'm following in the epics through a certain point, so.
Oh, that's cool. So I like this. I like how, the bad guy does something to her, or one of his minions. But I love this when you get to when the two teams have gotten connected, and you got one page where you're in the Avengers East Coast Quinjet, and then on the other page you're in the West Coast Quinjet.
Oh, these are my favorite pages in the whole issue,
Yeah,
just because
it's just dialogue. There's nothing, but it's just look at those pretty team shots. And aren't these two? These are two great Avenger lineups. This is a good. This is what I don't find Star Fox problematic as a hero with his powers. I think the way they portrayed him in the past, you can just say he makes people happy, but he's always got a girl on his arm. Is he manipulating him? Is kind of the question. It's like they're not saying he did, and they're not saying he didn't. I mean, we're inferring it because it's kind of a creepy superpower.
Yeah.
But I did like him as an Avenger. I don't always like him in other books. He was always Thanos' brother who's getting his ass kicked, because I grew up reading Captain Marvel. So, and that's something if you ever get a chance.
Starlin's Captain Marvel?
Yeah, you could start when he takes over. It's not a bad place to start. But I like the green and white. I mean, that's something I read after I read the Starlin stuff, because I read the Starlin stuff. But the Starlin stuff is, I wish the Infinity Gauntlet and those kind of omnis were in print and I had money.
Yeah.
But I got the first volume of Marvel, and I'll get the next one. Because the next one will be Pat Broderick, because I think the Pat Broderick stuff is good too. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, he took over from Starlin. It's really good. Yeah. I love his stuff. I think he's an underrated penciler.
Yeah.
Oh, because, are you getting the Micronauts?
No, and I'm not getting the ROM either.
I don't know if you would like the ROM. I think if you read it online, you'd enjoy it. It's Bill Mantlo. It's a really well-written comic book. It's solid.
Right.
But you'd love... when I get my Omni, I've got I'll send this... I'll get your address and I'll send you... I've got They did a reprint with 2 issues of each. And it's the first 12. It's the Mantlo, Michael Golden, the first 12-issue arc of Micronauts.
I guess for me, and this is just maybe a little sidebar, is like... I wasn't born until 90, so these, like, for me and my friends, where it's like we hear great things about ROM and Micronauts, but it's like they're tying comics to toys that don't exist anymore.
But the toys never existed. The toys lasted like 5 seconds.
Okay.
They are basically Marvel superheroes. It is, and I understand. I think I'm not a big Larry Hama. Larry Hama writes a certain kind of comic that I don't like. And his G.I. Joe, I think, is a well-crafted comic book, but it's not something I read. Also, I was an adult. I was in my mid-20s with Transformers in. But Transformers, did you ever read those comics?
I've read some of the 80s Transformers, and man, those are a little hard for me to read.
But ROM and Micronauts are so much. I wouldn't say they were better. I think they're better. Definitely, Micronauts has nothing to do with the toy. It is Bill Mantlo writing. I will put you this way. It is as good a cosmic comic book as Keith Giffen and Jim Starlin ever wrote.
Ooh, okay. Because I've heard they're great, but I've always had that weird hump. And a lot of my friends have had that.
The ROM toy lasted like a half a second. It was like one Christmas in the Sears catalog kind of shit. It is Bill Mantlo. Have you read Bill? Yeah, you've read some Bill Mantlo, right?
I've read a little bit of Bill Mantlo here and there.
It's as good as his Hulk, which is Hulk. Yeah, it's Hulk. I'm a big fan of his Hulk. It's as good as any. It's the best stuff he ever did because he went there and he did more than he was asked to do. He didn't write a toy tie-in. He wrote a Marvel comic. He wrote a very good Marvel comic. And the reason that ROM and them lasted is because they made them part of the Marvel Universe. That they were integral parts of the Marvel Universe. So I will send, when I get my Omni in a couple months, I'm going to send you those, and you're going to hate me.
Okay. So you're going to get a text from me going, God God damn it! Now I have more Omnis I need to buy.
Well,
I've already got a list of ones I want to get. And
well, no, I know. I hope while they have the licenses that they do it, put them on digitally for a little while. I think they should. But let's get back to these beautiful pages because I think these are great. These are great lineups. They look good. I like it. It's 2 pages of info dump, but it's still 2 in the bed. It doesn't feel like that.
It does because it's like every thought bubble. First off, I missed a thought bubble. 2, it's like we're getting the personality of all of them.
I love the grin on Hercules' face, and he's thinking, he's happy to be going to fight this big bad guy. He's like, hey!
Surely a foe be worthy of my power. It's like Hercules.
God, you're jackass. I love her. Oh, see, that's why I think you need to read the Bob Layton when you can, because it's real. Because he was. This is before, I think. I don't know. This may be simultaneous. No, I think it's after this.
I'm sure I will love it.
Yeah. Hercules, this is when Hercules became a big deal. He's just rejoined. He's just returned. He's been a member maybe 6 issues.
Gotcha.
Starhawk's been a member. He's been back. Starhawk and he came in right after Vision became leader, and Vision's about done. This is one of his last stories.
Right, he and Scarlet Witch will like go off and like have
he tries
kids.
to take over the world.
Oh, okay, that's news to me.
Yep, he fucks up, and that's when Cap and Wasp come back, and Black Knight comes back, and Cap becomes leader for a little bit, and then Wasp is. He leaves. Stern writes him out.
Okay.
And starts to bring in more what becomes what I think the best part of the best part of Stern's era is the lineups he gave us.
Yeah, because I didn't think I would like Black Knight as much as I kind of have just in some of my brief reading.
He moved. I bought a Black Knight action figure because Dane is a character I really, really love, and it's because of this era of Avengers. And then he stuck around all the way to the Gathering, all the way to Heroes Reborn.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a healthy run.
Yeah. Oh, and him and Hercules are in and out. I mean, they're main Avengers, and they kept the big 3 out a lot. You would only have 1 or 2 of them, which I like. I don't want.
I'm fine with that.
I want 1 or 2 of them. But I thought, what did you think of this as an annual? I think it's a great single story. I think it works. Yes. It's not. The bad guys are there to have them punch something.
Yep.
But it's about.
It's more to sell the Avengers and all the story, like the characters they do. Hey, West Coast Avengers is gonna be an ongoing, which I'm sure was well. I don't know.
Yeah. We knew by this point. We knew by now it was. So.
Oh wow! Avengers 250 December 84, West Coast Avengers ongoing 1 October 85.
Wow.
So
almost was it a year?
Yeah,
that's messed up. Oh man, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, because the mini started in September of 84, so December 84 for this big issue. Okay, that makes sense. I figured it would have been January 85, but no, October.
Wow. It was probably to get some stuff in and get somebody. And so, hold on. I'm looking to see. Because this is, I saw in the bottom blurb. I got to go to the right number, dummy. That Cap is coming back. So I kind of want to think. Oh, no. Vision had already tried to take over the world. That's kind of tied up. 250. Because when did Hercules return? Oh, Hercules only had returned to the team in 249.
Oh, okay, so he's...
Yeah, because it was part of this, he was living on a beach, and then all that wind of the Thor plot line with the snow that they were cleaning up in the miniseries is in 249. So the lineup of the Avengers, the issue before 250 was Thor, Wasp, Scarlet Witch, Star Fox, and Vision, and then Hercules rejoins in 249. So So that's cool. I forgot that. See, I'm kind of started an Avengers reread. Like every week or two, I'm going to read 4 issues. Just because I have all those omnis I've bought money on, and I should read them. Yeah, Thor has just taken. Hercules has just taken the Thor's position on the main team. I forgot that. That's cool. And She-Hulk's in that story because it's a big crossover. And then, and Bob Hall is finished with West Coast, and in the issue after this, he becomes a penciler on a couple issues of Avengers, and Cap is returned, and he has taken Star Fox. Oh no, Star Fox is still there. I think this is where we're going to lose Star Fox, and we're going into actually this is where some of the restructuring is going.
Gotcha.
Because Bob Hall does the next 4 issues, which ties up Vision's storyline, and then it also brings the change to the lineup to where it's the new lineup. We're seeing this is the beginning of the transition to where we get the Cap, Hercules, Wasp, Black Knight, Star Fox, Captain Marvel lineup, which is the first of Stern's major lineups. And then you lose Star Fox and you get Submariner.
Okay, so in Submariner's kind of that's where my Under Siege collection started. Is like Submariner had just joined.
This is the volume before that.
Okay, so again, I'm looking forward to getting these epics. Hopefully they will. I think they sell pretty well. So hopefully I can get a nice shelf full that I will eventually hate having to move out.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm doing. Is like I probably won't get the next omnibus because I've got when the one comes out in May, I'm going to get it, and I'll have the next 3 omnis after that. But I do like this. In yours, is the next story the backup from West Coast Avengers 100? It's a story about how they get the conference.
About 250. No, it just launches right into West Coast Avengers #1 there with 39-page action epic.
Okay. No, because in mine it has the backup for this honorary West Coast Avenger we never heard of. It was the movie star that had owned the compound before they bought it.
Yep. No, I got that.
And that's the first time I read it when I read this trade, and I really could care less.
Right.
Yeah, I hate to say it. So, what did you think? Overall, what did you think of the miniseries and the introduction?
Again, I think we've kind of hit pretty well. Is like this is a really good introduction. It makes me want, and I just order my order for the second volume's coming in a couple of days. Like it makes me want to keep reading it.
The second volume is what's in the back of yours? How much of the original run of the second series is 1 through what 7?
Just 1 through 7. So that
the Vision Scarlet Witch issues that go between 1 and 2, and 3 and 4.
Yep. So
that's a good miniseries if you can find that trade. That's a good trade.
If I can find a full 12.
It's been collected. It's had their 4-issue Aiken Garby miniseries that they had, and then the 12 is all in one trade. All 18 issues. Because the two West Coast Avenger issues are in there too. Because
it's very interconnected. Like I said, this is them still kind of figuring out how to use a miniseries like this, because this does feel more like the ongoing's already started. We just haven't told you yet.
Yeah, it's alright. If it had sold for crap,
they would have become backups in the Avengers or something.
And look, scrolling through the Avengers in that era, we're seeing that there's been. I don't want to bash this stuff before Stern, but it's very inconsistent. Let's just say that. It's really, there are different eras, like 200 on to, oh my God, I think 200 till about 225 is so mediocre.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of one and dones. Like they bring Black Knight back for a two-parter by Stephen Grant, and then 227 is when Stern takes over the book, and that is when Captain Marvel. It's her second appearance, and she becomes a probationary member. And then they go into. Oh, he wrote the Trial of Hank Pym. I forgot that. And they bring back Egghead, and that's when he loses it. And then the lineup had shifted in 221, then it added She-Hulk and Hawkeye. So it was Cap, Thor, Iron Man, Wasp, She-Hulk, and Hawkeye. And then She-Hulk is written out in Secret Wars.
But yeah, I think just to more, it's like I like when a main team book like this, it's got a weirder lineup. Like I love JLI because it's like you have Batman, you have Martian Manhunter, but then you got a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, I think you need to have it. I think that what makes this the first miniseries work, it's that these aren't characters that have their own books. They're not people. I mean, Rhodey's just barely been a hero. Wonder Man is at this point been a. Well, no, at this point he'd been pretty regular. He'd only been gone maybe for a year from the book because he was in it for a long time. He was in it from like when he came back in 150 as a in the background or a member all the way past 200.
Right. Okay.
So he's in it, and he was in it during all that press comes back, and then it's Gene Colan, and the problem with it in that area, I think, is really kind of they're not trying to do anything. And they're just not trying to do anything but to have really short, simple superhero comics. I don't think they had a writer with an idea of what he wanted to do. And I think Stern is one of those writers like Busiek and Fabian, I pronounce it horribly.
Yeah.
Fabian Nietzsche is from like Thunderbolts and other things, and Roy and Engelhardt. He's one of those kind of team writers, the ones that I like, who build relationships and doesn't do a lot of character arcs. And lets me know. I'm reading Stern's Starman, and I'm real guilty that I never read it before because it is so good, and it's because it's Roger Stern.
Yep. I think I said this to you online. It's like, you fully. I've got to find that series.
I hope it holds up. I know a lot of people really love it all the way through, and I don't. The writer who takes over, I can't remember how to pronounce his name. But I've read his other stuff. Lenz, I can't remember who it is. But I like his stuff. But I mean, I've fallen in love with Will Payton. And I think I fell in love with a lot of these characters. And it's because of Stern. And I love Stern. I think I gush about Stern's era. And I think it's really good. Even with Dr. Druid. I don't care. People bash the poor guy. And he gets used as a plot device very at the end. And it's really a horrible way to go. But I kind of liked it because he is unlikable.
Yeah, no, like, sometimes the heroes need a Starscream, and Dr. Druid fills that role perfectly.
Yeah, and I still think it's a neat. Let's bring an obscure hero in and see if we can make him a big hero by making him an Avenger. It's kind of, when you get to the one where Sandman's in the background, is a reserve member, I would have, and he was wearing the green slacks and the green striped shirt, he'd have been a great Avenger.
Okay, so they got him out of the Kirby Sandman redesign back to more of the Dick.
Well, he was a hero for a while. He was in Silver Saber and the whatever pack.
Okay.
And then they decided they needed to make him a villain again. I said, no, you had fixed him. I would have loved to see Busiek bring him into Thunderbolts and stuff like that. I'm looking. I read the first new Thunderbolts a little, but I mean, I love Thunderbolts. I've got I'm not buying any Omnis for the next 4 or 5 months because I've still got a bunch or pre-ordered, but I got all the Thunderbolt ones. I may get there's a epic Thunderbolt that came out, the Dark Avengers. It's basically a Thunderbolts, but I love it because it's like it's very similar to me in feel to Busiek's I mean, because it's Busick, it's in it, Fabian Naiche, it's why I like their stuff. It's why I like Stern stuff. Is that you have these characters. Hell, I've read New Warriors, and I thought I would never read it. I never thought it was for me. I think I was like, well, that's a teen superhero book, and it came out too late for me to be invested in them because, like the Titans, I grew up with them. You know what I mean? The X-Men, I kind of grew up. You know, the Team Heroes.
Yeah.
But I read that first Omni and went, really good. This is a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to an excuse to jump into the second one. So, but I think this is a good starter, and I'm going to have you back. Well, you know, I do want to talk the next what's in the next hardcover, which is 1 through 7, and which is the second half of that epic, because I want to get your take on Englehart. But I may have to have you come on and do, if you're interested, in sometime in the next couple months to talk. The Celestial Madonna.
Yeah, that might have to be a two-parter because that's a lot.
Isn't it good though? It's
good. It's very good, but I'm glad you kind of gave me the prep.
But you wait a minute, let me ask you something. Did you read Avengers Forever before you read the Celestial Madonna?
I read so I read maybe the first 3 issues of Avengers Forever, and then I'm like, and this is like 10 years ago. I'm like, I'm so lost. I just kind of flipped through the pretty art for the rest of those issues and just kind of got you, and that's kind of where I was.
Yeah, I think when you get to it now in the Omni, I think you're going to really appreciate it, because one of my favorite parts of that is when we're seeing that when they're on the history tour.
Okay, so and I think we've thought like of where I'm in with my Avengers. I'm still struggling a little bit with it, but I'm still enjoying it more.
But like when you read the Celestial Madonna, where they're giving the history of the Skree and the Skree Skrull War, but you're also getting the Vision's history.
Mm-hmm.
And Mantis's. I love that. And there's a part you get to about the 4th or 5th issue in Avengers Forever. And you're going to get a really concise, very easy to understand history of all the Avengers shit that's happened.
Okay.
And feel free to text me and go, where the fuck is this from?
Yeah,
because some of it may not, but it's there's a point. I feel this is the way it felt to me, and I don't know if I'm not going to speak that's what Kurt Busiek's intent was to mirror the Celestial Madonna. And you haven't read Burns' West Coast, have you?
No.
That plays a part in it. And it's the part I really hate about Burns' West Coast is my nitpickly, I think the idea of the government dissecting the Vision is fucking genius. But I didn't like that the Human Torch and him were separate. I fucking hate that. But you know what? I think you may like it. Everybody else loves it, but Busiek gives you a nice, entertaining history lesson. Okay. It's entertaining and it's pretty. It's Carlos Pachenko. It's beautiful to look at. Yeah, I mean, and you get more of Genicel, and then Genicel goes into Peter Davis Genicel, and I bought that Omni, and I'm waiting to read it because I read that religiously. It was very funny. It was very JLI. Okay. Yeah, him and Rick Jones are a good comedic double act, like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle.
Nice.
And Chris Cross does the art, so there's a lot of Al McGuire level facial expression.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun. All right, hey, well, thank you. Hey, anything? You got any recommendations, or what are you reading that others should be reading?
Okay, I just want to go through a quick list of like what I'm planning on for my 2024.
Okay.
Okay, Warlord volumes 1, 2, and 4. I was able to collect all of. This is like over 150 issues, like in about a year.
You got a complete run of Warlord?
Complete run.
Bravo! Enjoy the shit out of it. It's its own little genre. Mike Grell Sword and Sorcery.
Oh god, it's beautiful.
Is it? Yeah, it is. It is. It is. They're putting his Green Lantern, Green Arrow out in an Omni.
They should.
Yeah, they should. I haven't decided if I'm going to get it, but I may.
Let's see. Reboot Legion. I'll be finishing that, reading all of that.
Oh, second boot.
Second, or post zero hour, however we want to phrase it.
Yeah. You and me and Jimbo were talking about it. Yeah, I agree. Jimbo made it. That's the best one to give a new reader. And as a fan
it is.
And as a Silver Age guy, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it translates. It's a better translation of it, and you still get it. And then you could go back and read the others and still understand what's going on.
Yeah. Let's see. Jonah Hex, Palmiotti, and Gray, and then I'm just gonna be reading more Fantastic Four throughout the year.
I need to get that Palmiotti Gray.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Okay, Jimmy Palmiotti has yelled at me, and I've never added him on Twitter, but they really kind of shit the bed on the way out. That's just kind of my opinion. It's like, you can't give I love Jonah Hex. You can't give him a happy ending. He needs to be, mounted and stuffed and put in a Roy Rogers costume. That's the perfect ending for that character. Yeah, and you can't have him run off into the sunset.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't know that. I have to cover one of those issues for Starman, Opal City.
Ooh.
There's a Starman. There's a guy called the Starman in one of the. I think it's in Palmiotti.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will be covering it. So I would. That's out in an omnibus. A complete.
Is it?
I think maybe it's a complete hardcover or something.
Oh, great! As soon as I finish my complete run. Great.
Yeah, but see, you're still a floppy guy, man. It's good to be a floppy guy. So I remember the sensation of collecting a whole run. I remember when I got my Marvel 2-in-1 #1, and I had I had a 51 issue run.
Nice.
And then I was years later, I had a room in my apartment with 40 long boxes, and I had 350 straight issues of Avengers.
Oh, we could have a whole issue of series I'm collecting and floppy stuff.
Yeah, I don't miss it. I'm going to cut back on some of my floppies for financial reasons. And
that's the issue.
I'm doing another purge in my house. I got a bunch of runs of comics that I'm going to sell on eBay, like the more recent action and Superman stuff and stuff like that, because I've got the app. And then what I'll do is if I make enough money selling some stuff, I'll buy some Omnis and some trades and stuff and some Epics. Yeah. But yeah, because folks, I posted what I was going to read, and I can't remember, but I'm going to see if I can do it by my New Year's read is to continue my West Coast read through, my FF read through. It is to do. I finally finished. If you listen to my Legion Adventure segments, I finally finished the action stuff. Thank you, Jesus. It was hard. Yep. That archive was a hard slog. The best thing I got out of it is I have an appreciation for Chemical King, because this is all where his appearances seem to have been.
Yeah, he died pretty early on in the Superboy era.
Well, I still got a whole archive before he dies.
Okay.
But he's not in any of them. I've got 4 George Tuska stories, and then this entire archive is Cockrum. God, and then next archive is entirely Grell.
Oh, God, so much good stuff.
It is, and I'm going to get to the first Legion comic I ever read, and I was thumbing through it, and that is the first time that title is called Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, 197. It's real spotty, but we're doing the Carrie Bates stuff and the shoot. There's a second shooter coming up, but it's going to get to the point where I'm going to get to Levitt's 1. I'm getting closer to Levitt's 1. But I'm going to continue that, and I'm jumping in and out. I'm really enjoying this FF now. I mean, I'm in an Omni 3. I'm going to do an overview on Omni 2 coming up soon, because I kind of want to talk about it, because I spent so much time being confused by why I didn't like Omni 1 as much as I thought I would.
I have some thoughts for when we get there on 444.
But I'm enjoying. I mean, what I've discovered is, having read that Omni and now doing 444 with you, is I was a little more forgiving on the second time through on some of them. I don't know about the Hollywood story. I think you and me are going to be joking at busting its chops and enjoying.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness! I wish I could remember what others. There's some good stuff. I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be reading JLI for you.
JLI, which love that series, favorite Justice League, and you're listening to the Bwahaha podcast where you're doing it, right?
I'm on episode 2. They're long.
Okay.
Shag will talk. But I gotta Shag will talk,
Yeah.
and that's not a bad thing. I mean, they're worth an hour and a half of my time.
They
I
are.
thought the first episode was incredibly interesting, and I'm on the middle of the second one. But I don't want to get ever past what I've read.
That's I'm with my Fantastic Four. I'm doing the same thing with the Fantastic Cast.
How is Fantastic Cast?
I enjoy it. I think they do about an hour an issue. Now early on when they're doing the Strange Tales, I'll stop listening to the episode when they get to the Strange Tales part.
But until then, folks, hey, thank you for listening. You be smart. You be safe. Please be kind to one another. And read some comics. Read some Fantastic Four, and definitely read some West Coast Avengers.